The temperature dropped to 20 degrees that Christmas Eve as I huddled in my car, parked in my sister Diana's driveway. Through the frosted windows of her mansion, I could see the warm glow of Christmas lights and hear muffled laughter from the party inside. A party I wasn't welcome to join. The guest rooms are for important people, Diana had laughed earlier, her perfect makeup never cracking as she delivered the cruel words. You can sleep in your car if you want to stay for Christmas morning. After all, that's probably what you're used to. If only she knew that the cheap car I drove to family events was just for show. That my real car collection, including 3 Ferraris and a custom Rolls-Royce, sat in a climate-controlled garage across town. But let me back up and explain how I ended up spending Christmas Eve in a car outside my sister's house. 7 years ago I was just another MBA graduate with big dreams. Diana, 2 years older, had already established herself as a rising star at Morton Financial, one of the country's largest investment firms. Our parents never tired of bragging about her corner office and 6-figure salary. While Diana climbed the corporate ladder, I saw an opportunity everyone else missed. The financial technology sector was about to explode, but traditional banks were too slow to adapt. I took my savings, borrowed money from anyone who would lend it, and launched FinCore Technologies. The first 2 years were brutal. I worked 100-hour weeks, slept on an office couch, and lived on ramen noodles. Diana loved to point out my poor life choices at family gatherings. Still playing entrepreneur? She would smirk. You know, there's an entry-level position open in my department. I could put in a word. I declined every time, which only reinforced their belief that I was a failure. What they didn't know was that FinCore had developed revolutionary banking software that would transform the industry. The first major contract came in year 3. A small regional bank implemented our system and saw their digital transaction efficiency increase by 300%. Word spread quickly in the banking world. By year 4 we had contracts with 3 of the top 10 banks in the country. But I kept quiet about my success. I maintained my modest apartment, drove an old Honda, and let my family believe I was struggling. Meanwhile, FinCore grew into a technology giant, with offices in 12 countries and a client list that included the biggest names in global finance. I took the company public last year. The IPO made headlines in the financial world. FinCore Technologies, the future of banking, splashed across the Wall Street Journal. My personal wealth shot past $400 million overnight. Still, I kept up the facade with my family. Not out of shame, but because I was curious to see how long they would continue treating me with condescension. Diana, especially, seemed to take pleasure in pointing out the growing gap between our lifestyles. Which brings us back to Christmas Eve. Diana had recently taken a new position at Blackwater Capital, a prestigious investment firm. She'd spent weeks bragging about how her new boss, Elizabeth Chin, was a titan of industry, and how this job would finally put her in the big leagues. What my dear sister didn't know was that Blackwater Capital was one of FinCore's largest clients. In fact, I had personally approved their contract just last month. Elizabeth Chin and I had weekly calls discussing the implementation of our software across their global operations. I checked my phone's weather app. 18 degrees now. In the mansion's warm glow, I could see Diana showing off her designer Christmas decorations to her guests. Our parents were there, naturally, proudly watching their successful daughter play hostess. A text lit up my phone screen. Everything's set for tomorrow morning's surprise visit? Elizabeth. I smiled, typing back, yes. Looking forward to it. Elizabeth had been furious when she learned how Diana had treated me. We need to teach her a lesson about making assumptions, she had said during our last meeting. Together we had planned tomorrow's little revelation. Another text came through, this time from my COO. Forbes article is scheduled to go live at 7 a.m. tomorrow. FinCore CEO named Businesswoman of the Year, complete with that photo from the charity gala. Perfect timing. Diana always checked business news with her morning coffee. I reclined my car seat, wrapping myself in the emergency blanket I kept in the trunk. The irony wasn't lost on me, a woman worth hundreds of millions, choosing to sleep in her car just to make a point. Through the window I watched Diana lead a house tour for her guests. She was showing off the imported marble countertops in her kitchen, countertops that probably cost more than what she thought I made in a year. My actual annual income could buy her entire house 100 times over. Around midnight the party wound down. Guests departed in luxury cars. My parents retired to one of the important people guest rooms, and the lights in the mansion dimmed. Diana's silhouette appeared at an upstairs window. She looked down at my car and shook her head, probably congratulating herself on her superior life choices. If she only knew that tomorrow morning her carefully constructed world of superiority would shatter like fine crystal. I checked my watch. 12:01 a.m. Technically Christmas morning. In 6 hours and 59 minutes, the Forbes article would go live. In 8 hours, Elizabeth Chen would arrive for a surprise inspection of her new employee's holiday party. And my sister would finally learn that the person she forced to sleep in a car was actually her company's most important client. I drifted off to sleep with a smile, imagining the look on Diana's face when her perfect Christmas morning turned into a lesson in humility. The last thing I saw before closing my eyes was my own reflection in the car window, the secret CEO who chose to spend Christmas Eve in a car just to make a point. Sometimes the best gifts aren't wrapped in shiny paper. Sometimes they come in the form of long-awaited revelations. I woke up at 6:45 a.m. to frost coating the car windows and my phone buzzing with messages. Diana was already up, preparing for her casual Christmas morning breakfast with her new boss. Through the kitchen window, I could see her orchestrating her staff like a conductor, making sure everything was perfect. At exactly 7 a.m., my phone pinged with a notification. Forbes article now live. FinCorp CEO named Businesswoman of the Year. I watched Diana settle at her breakfast nook with her morning coffee, pulling up her daily business news feed on her tablet. The shattering of a coffee cup against imported tile echoed through the house. This can't be right, I heard her stammer to our mother who had just walked into the kitchen. Look at this article. The woman in this photo. It looks like. Like who, dear? Our mother asked, peering at the screen. Like Madison. But it can't be. This is the CEO of FinCorp Technologies. She's worth hundreds of millions. I decided this was my cue. I stepped out of my car, smoothing my cheap clothes, and walked to the front door. Diana yanked it open before I could knock, her face pale. Explain this. She thrust the tablet at me, showing my photo at the recent Tech Innovation Awards. I was wearing a Chanel gown worth more than her car, accepting the award for Most Influential Tech CEO Under 40. Explain what? I asked innocently. It looks like a standard business article. This woman. She looks exactly like you. But she's the CEO of FinCorp Technologies? I finished for her. Founder of the company that just signed a $100 million contract with Blackwater Capital? The person who personally approved the implementation of new banking software across all of Elizabeth Chen's global operations. Diana's legs gave out and she sank into a nearby chair. Our mother grabbed the tablet, her hands shaking as she scrolled through the article. This is impossible, she whispered. You're just a struggling entrepreneur. You sleep in your car. I slept in my car last night because I wanted to, I corrected her. Just like I drive that Honda to family events because I choose to. Would you like to see what I really drive? I pulled out my phone and showed them photos of my actual car collection. Diana's face grew even paler. But your apartment, your clothes. All part of an experiment, I said calmly. I wanted to see how long my own family would continue looking down on me, even as I built one of the most successful tech companies in the world. The doorbell rang. Diana jumped up, suddenly remembering her boss was coming. Oh God, Elizabeth is here. Mom, get Madison out of sight. We can't have. Good morning, Miss Chen, I called out as Diana opened the door. Right on schedule. Elizabeth Chen, CEO of Blackwater Capital and supposedly Diana's new boss, broke into a warm smile. Madison. Merry Christmas. I hope you weren't too cold in your car last night. Diana's jaw dropped. You know each other? Know each other? Elizabeth laughed. Madison is one of our most important technology partners. We have weekly meetings discussing the implementation of FinCorp's software across our global operations. Weekly meetings? Diana's voice was barely a whisper. In fact, Elizabeth continued, that's partly why I accepted this position. When Madison mentioned her sister had joined our firm, I wanted to personally oversee this division. Though I must say I'm rather disappointed in what I've observed. Disappointed? Diana squeaked. Yes. You see, last night's behavior was quite illuminating. Making your own sister, who happens to be one of our company's most valuable partners, sleep in her car? Not exactly the judgment we look for in our executives. I watched my sister's perfect world crumble in real time. Every assumption she'd made, every condescending remark, every moment of superiority, all of it was shattering like her coffee cup on the imported tiles. I didn't know, she stammered. Clearly, Elizabeth's voice was arctic. Madison, shall we discuss the next phase of our software implementation over breakfast? I hear there's a lovely dining room here, unless that's only for important people? Our mother, who had been frozen in shock this whole time, finally found her voice. Madison, sweetheart, we had no idea. All this time, I cut in. I was building an empire while you were bragging about Diana's corner office. I revolutionized banking technology while you were showing off her company car. I became a billionaire while you were apologizing for my poor life choices. Billionaire. Diana choked. Oh, did I forget to mention? Elizabeth smiled. Fincor's stock price jumped again yesterday. Madison's net worth just crossed the $1 billion mark. Congratulations, by the way. I sat down at Diana's perfectly set breakfast table, noting how the imported tablecloth probably cost less than my watch. Thank you, Elizabeth. Shall we discuss the Asia-Pacific expansion over these lovely pastries? Diana can serve us coffee, assuming she has any cups left. The next hour was surreal. My sister, still in shock, mechanically poured coffee while Elizabeth and I discussed multi-million-dollar technology implementations. Our mother sat in the corner, alternating between staring at me and anxiously checking the Forbes article on her tablet. Finally, Elizabeth checked her watch. I should get going. Madison will finalize the details at next week's board meeting. Oh, and Diana. He turned to my sister. Take some time to think about whether Blackwater Capital is the right fit for you. We value good judgment in our executives. After Elizabeth left, silence fell over the house. Diana stood by the window watching her boss's car disappear down the driveway. Why? She finally asked, turning to me. Why keep this secret? Why let us treat you like someone who deserves to sleep in their car on Christmas Eve? I finished for her. Because I wanted to see who you really were. Both of you. And now I know. I stood up, smoothing my cheap clothes. I should go. I have a charity gala to host tonight. You might have read about it. It's the one where I'm donating $10 million to education in underprivileged communities. Madison, wait. Our mother stepped forward. Please. We can fix this. Fix what? I asked quietly. Fix the fact that you valued status over kindness? That you treated your own daughter like she was worthless because she didn't fit your definition of success. I walked to the door, then turned back. Oh, and Diana? About your job at Blackwater. I wouldn't worry too much about Elizabeth's comments. I'm sure you can find another position. Though you might want to update your resume. Made the CEO of our largest technology partner sleep in her car, probably won't look good to future employers. The drive home in my cheap Honda was peaceful. I had a text from Elizabeth. Mission accomplished. Their faces were priceless. Later that evening, as I prepared for the charity gala in my penthouse apartment, I received dozens of messages from family members who had seen the Forbes article. Suddenly, everyone wanted to reconnect with their successful relative. I ignored them all. Instead, I focused on the speech I would give at the gala about the importance of judging people by their character, not their apparent status. About how true worth isn't measured by the car you drive or the clothes you wear, but by how you treat others. And as I stood at the podium that night, addressing a room full of genuine business leaders and philanthropists, I thought about Diana and our mother, probably still sitting in that mansion, realizing that the daughter they'd looked down on for so long was now someone they had to look up to. Sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people how successful you are. It's letting them discover it themselves right after they've shown you exactly who they really are. The next morning, I woke up to a final text from Diana. I'm sorry. I understand if you never forgive me. I clicked my phone off without responding and looked out my penthouse window at the city below. In the distance, I could see the Fincor Technologies building, its logo shining in the morning sun. Success, I had learned, wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving yourself right. And sometimes, the best way to do that is to let people underestimate you until the perfect moment of revelation. I never did respond to Diana's text. Some apologies come too late and some lessons are best learned in silence. Besides, I was too busy running my billion-dollar company to worry about what my family thought anymore. They could keep their guest rooms. I had an empire to run.